Hi, and welcome to the 14th section of the SwiftUI course. So in this session, we're going to learn how to pass the data to the detail screen. We're going to style this thing, and then we're going to add an image here. So let's get started with that. First of all, I'm going to put my V stack inside an H stack. Let me just fix the indentation right here. And then right before the V stack, I'm going to put my image. So image, parentheses, item.image. And now we have this. We just need to make sure that it's within a frame. So I'm going to set the frame to 80 by 80. When your original image is bigger than a frame, you have to set .resizable. So .resizable. And now it fits within the frame, but we have also to make sure that it fits the aspect ratio. So .aspect ratio, we can set it to fit. Then let's put a background right after frame. The background is going to use from the style guide called background. Let's just add some rounded corners as well. I'm gonna set it to 20. And voila. Now I want to add more spacing between the image and the text. It seems that we already have something by default, and that's kind of what's really nice about SwiftUI is that, you know, for most cases, they're gonna have a really nice default spacing and padding. So I just want to add a little bit more. I'm gonna command click the H stack, inspect. I'm gonna set it to 12. So that's really good. It seems that by default we have about 8. So by setting it to 12, then we have 4 more. The other thing I want to have is some spacing between the line and the content. So what I can do is command click the navigation button, inspect, and set a spacing of 8 for top and bottom. So now we have a little bit more spacing. Okay, so now it's time to pass some data. I'm going to show you the basic of it. You can simply pass, let's say, the item.text, and it's going to automatically pass the data to the detail view, as you can see right here. And this is dynamic, so now it's CSS, and now it's Framer. But we want to have that inside a new screen. Instead of setting it right here, we're going to create a new view. So let's go to the navigator, and right after update list, I'm going to create a new file for SwiftUI. It's going to be update detail, then create, and then I'm going to resume and hide my navigator. The first thing I'm going to do is to set the data that I receive. So right before body, I'm gonna set var title is equal to, we can have some default text. So for example, SwiftUI. So we can already start testing a little bit. And then I'm gonna set the text. Here, I don't wanna write a lot, so I'm just gonna put loading triple dot. And image is equal to, I'm gonna use the illustration one as a test. The layout that we're gonna build is going to be super simple. And that's the beauty of SwiftUI, is that if you want to have like a super simple layout that just stacks and that centers and that is also adaptive, then you can do so with only a few lines of code. So let's start with the title. I'm gonna set this one to title, and I'm gonna set it to a font of large title. It's going to be heavy. Then I'm gonna put this text inside a V stack so that I can stack more stuff. The second thing is an image parentheses, and it's simply going to use the image variable. So we have illustration 1. Then I'm gonna add another text, this time using the text variable. The text variable is gonna have multiple lines of, and since oftentimes we don't have a set number of lines, we can just set it to unlimited. And for that, we're going to add line limit set it to nil. And this is going to allow us to have unlimited number of lines. Let me push everything so that it goes more towards the top. So I'm gonna use a spacer right here. But I'm gonna add some padding to my container, which is the VStack, and I'm going to set it to 30. Oftentimes, you're gonna find yourself in a position where the content is not necessarily realistic because the text might be a lot longer than this, and the image might vary in size. So what you can do is to have one of these elements take the full width. Usually it's a text, but in this case, we can also make it so that the image is the one. So for that, we're gonna use resizable. And now you can see that it's taking the full width of the screen. We just need to fix the aspect ratio. So aspect ratio, we're gonna set it to fit. If you're not in the play mode, at any time you can inspect your design and see what kind of size that they're gonna have. In this case, you can see that the spacing between the image and the text is not consistent. So what we can do is set the spacing for our VStack, and we're gonna set it to 20. So now we have a consistent spacing of 20 between the elements. If the image varies in size, then the layout is going to accommodate that. The same for the text. Because before setting the resizable, then if your source image is going to be a tiny image, it's just going to appear as a tiny image, and it's going to affect the balance of your content. So having a fixed size for your image can be really important if you have multiple sizes in terms of the source image. Okay, so now we're ready to test this content. We're gonna go back to the update list. And then here, instead of setting text, we're going to put update detail, parentheses, and then select the content with the data. And here we're gonna put the item content. So item.title, and then item.text, and item.image. All right, so let's test this. So as you can see, we have dynamic data that comes from the navigation list and pass over to the detail screen. And having different sizes for images seems to work well. But we might want to make the height a little bit more consistent. So what we can do here is that we want to keep showing the screen while editing the code of the other view.swift. So I can click on the pin here, and now it's always going to show me this preview, and I can switch to update detail.swift and make the change right here. Now I want to set a frame for my image, and maybe I can set a frame of maybe 200 for the image. And now you can see that it's always 200. Therefore, the title is always at the same place. But we also want to make sure that our text is always using the full width of the screen. And in this case, because none of these elements are using the full width, since the text here is the one that's always dynamic in terms of content, we're going to add a frame to the text, and it's going to use the min-max techniques. So min width is going to be 0, max width is going to be dot infinity. So let's test this. We can see that we still have the problem. So one thing you can do is kind of inspect, but using the text right here. It says 354, and it seems that the width is fine, but somehow the text is not aligned within the frame. This is an issue that you're gonna run into a lot if you put a frame on a text, is that you have to make sure to align it to the left. So I'm gonna do comma, alignment, dot leading. So this should fix my problem. As you can see, it's probably aligned now, and it's consistent with the rest of the other screens. I'm going to unpin this and then go back to update list. And then we're gonna learn how to use combine to manipulate our data so we can add new rows automatically, and we can edit, we can swipe to delete. So it's going to make your list extremely powerful and dynamic and editable with built-in controls provided by Apple. I'll see you soon.